there, my name's Sam Leary and I am one half of Leading Edge, and we are delighted this year to be supporting the Women's Alpine Adventure Club with their winter meet. Carrying on from some of the videos that Jenny's done already, we're going to look at boots and in particular fitting. So one of the big points Jenny was making in the previous video, which if you haven't watched, go back and watch, is that when you go to buy a pair of boots, you want to try on lots of different ones to find the right manufacturer for the shape of your foot. It's unlikely that even by trying on lots of different styles of boots and lots of different manufacturers that you are going to find the perfect fit off the shelf. So things to think about when you're going into the shop to try them on is socks. What sort of socks do you think you're going to wear? What have you got at home? And take a selection with you. Traditionally, winter boots weren't very well lined. They were quite rough leather and they used to rip your feet apart. So people used to say about wearing like two really thick pairs of socks. Nowadays, with modern boots, they're much better. They've got a lovely cambrel lining and that side of things is not so much of an issue for you. And a thick sock can affect the fit. It makes it feel a little bit more clumpy and it slides around on your foot quite a lot. So perhaps a better option, certainly a lot of us will wear something like a thin lining sock, something like this. And then over the top of that, we'll put almost like your summer walking socks. You don't need to go out and buy a new pair. Your summer ones over the top should do the job fine because the extra liner and the extra insulation in the boot itself should help you deal with the cold. So do take a variety of socks with you to the shop so that you can try different systems when you're trying your boots on. Next thing to think about is the insole. Now you're going to be trying on some very expensive boots potentially, and the outside of the boot, that's where all the sort of technical expense is spent. Inside, if you actually pull out the insole, you will find it is just a piece of pretty flimsy cardboard. And that's because the manufacturers are really expecting you to put in your own footbed. So you might have purpose-built orthotics already, so that's great. If you have something like that, again, take that with you when you're going to try on the boots. And if you don't have anything like that, it's worth talking to the retailer. Make sure you go to a quality retailer when you're thinking about buying some winter boots and see what other options they've got in regard to different footbeds that you could actually buy. And these will offer more support around the heel and particularly the arch. And this can make a radical difference to the fit of the boot. So different manufacturers, the shops will have different types. And again, a quality shop is going to allow you to try different ones. And you will again be surprised at how that can make the fit so much better for you. Next thing then is the volume. Most women will find that when they put on a winter boot, to get the width at the front, you end up with too much volume at the back. And this then causes real problems when you're kicking in to snow, because we get a lot more torque on the back of the heel because the boot is that bit more rigid. And then that's amplified again when we put crampons on. So you've got a big slab of metal on under here. And again, the boot won't flex. So the torque at this point here is really great. And what that means is this is a spot where you're very prone to get blisters. So trying to reduce the volume is a really key thing. Footbeds will help because that'll bring your foot up a little bit into the narrow part of the boot. But you will still find, some of you, that your heel sort of feels like it's swimming around a little bit. So you can buy these little neoprene ankle cuffs from a sports shop. They're brilliant. You won't get them from the outdoor shops. You'll need to go to like a sports shop for them. Either little pull-on ones like this, or you can get little Velcro ones as well. And they just go on over the top of your socks and they make a huge difference to the fit of the boot. For myself and lots of friends, this is a total game changer when it comes to winter boots. I'd hate to think about the thousands of pounds that I've literally spent on getting boots wrong, and I could solve it with a £8 neoprene gaiter. Neoprene heel cuff. So think about getting yourself one of those. Right, so you're then getting close and you're getting a good fit. And what we're going to look at now is how we can lace the boots to make the most of that fit to ensure that you're going to have a comfortable time out there. Lacing is pretty critical. Not only is the boot bigger and stiffer, your days are longer, but we're also going to be popping a crampon for a big part of the day onto the boot as well. So making sure that the boot is laced securely to minimise any sort of movement and to maximise comfort is going to have a big impact on how much fun you have during the day. So I've got my foot into the boot, and key things to think about straight away is when you put your boot on, get your foot and your calf at 90 degrees. So what you don't want to be doing is like trying to lace the boot up like this in front of you. So get this at 90 degrees and make sure you've pushed the heel right into the back of the boot. What I'm then going to do is come all the way down to the front here. And this boot's great, it's got little pulleys on these top two lacings, which allows you to crank that in quite snugly. But can you see here, this is tight, but look at that. I can get my finger right underneath that. So that means when I'm kicking in, my foot's going to punch forward and my toes going to bang into the front of the boot. And you can even get like black toenails from that. So trying to minimise that foot sliding is important. So I'm actually going to come all the way back down, look, and start here. Take the time to get that nice and snug, and then you'll find you can pinch that in quite tightly. Get the tongue sitting perfectly and tucked in like that. And this is a little bit of a top tip here. Rather than going underneath the hooks as you would perhaps for summer, I'm actually going to go over the top and underneath. Now what that does, you can see, is it locks these laces off. So it doesn't matter what I do at the top of the boot now, this front part, this lacing, will stay pretty generic then for the rest of the day. So I've got that in there. Then I'm going to finish off here, but sort of differences from summer, I think it's just the tension really going quite snug. Now if you are still struggling with heel lift, again, just watch that little video about the neoprene heel cuffs. It does make a big difference. But what you can do at this point is you can go back down and then come back up, and that will really grip the top of your foot into the boot. So that works quite well. When I come to put my crampons on, particularly if I'm going to be climbing in them, so I'm actually going to be on the edge of the boot a lot of the day because my front points are going to be into the snow and ice, I will always retighten the laces before I put my crampons on. And that just helps me to feel secure and inside the boot and minimises any feeling of heel lift at the back here. So that makes a big difference to my confidence then when I'm climbing, as well as comfort and helping reduce hot spots and the potential of blisters. Now why does it need to be that snug? Well, that's because we're going to spend a lot of time on the front part of this boot in crampons, whether we're mountaineering, and particularly if we're ice climbing, we are putting a lot of pressure just through the front part of the boot. So that's going to look something like that. So it's really important that I can step up on this front part of the boot and not feel like my heel is lifting out the back. So when you go to try your boots on, really encourage you to get onto a little step in the shop. They often have little slope things for you to walk up and down. Step right on the edge and check that when you put your full body weight on both feet, it doesn't feel like your heel is shifting up. And then the other thing you want to do is to kick a wall or a piece of wood quite hard. Make sure you ask them permission to do this. So that you can check that your foot isn't sliding forwards into the boot and you're going to bruise your toes. You might well find you need a little bit more room in your winter boots than you would in your summer boots to allow for that action.